Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'd like to do a small review of the UFC 302 Makhachev versus Poirier. There was quite an intriguing title fight on paper, and definitely it delivered as well. It was a great fight, probably more greater than actually even expected, given some of the deficiencies that Dustin Poirier has demonstrated in the past, and especially given his fight against Khabib. But as the fight was building, everybody was feeling that there was some tension in the air, and a lot of people felt like, okay, maybe, just maybe, Dustin Poirier can get it done, and maybe it's his destiny to actually finish off his career with a UFC belt, something that he has not been able to gain throughout his legendary career. I mean, he has been an interim champion, as we know, but he has never been a unified champ. And this does remain as one of the unaccomplished dreams and missions of Dustin Poirier. We could even argue, and there's been an argument, that he may be the greatest UFC fighter who has never won the UFC belt. And there certainly can be made cases for that, especially after this fight. But yeah, definitely he's up there. First and foremost, I'd like to start by saying that Dustin Poirier was an improved version of himself. Okay, he's maturing. He's definitely gained a lot of experience, also developing his skills along the way. And I would disagree with Khabib, given some of his statements pre-fight, that he doesn't see Dustin Poirier as an improved version of Dustin Poirier since his fight. And that may have been a mistake that they made in this camp. And I don't think the results of this fight, and obviously Makhachev won, but it was much more competitive fight than Poirier had against Khabib. But I don't think that's because that Khabib is that much better than Makhachev. I think it's because Poirier certainly is developing, and you could argue that somebody like Poirier has all the skills to a certain level, but there's like having skills in the toolbox and also like sharpening those skills for specific occasions. And given the fact that he had better knowledge of Khabib's camp this time around, and he had overall better knowledge of how to handle wrestlers, he also structured his camp and also worked in his camp in a way which allowed him to deliver the type of performance that he delivered. I think he sharpened his tools really well. He had a very good training partner for this fight. It's very also important to have proper training partners when you are going up against a certain type of fighter. And Mateusz Gamrot was probably one of the best candidates he could have had. Somebody with great wrestling, and also somebody with also great understanding of the ground game and overall MMA caveats that, let's say, some random wrestler you may grab from a wrestling room may not have coming in to help you out. Also, I do see Makhachev as more dangerous version of Khabib. Doesn't mean that it's his better version of Khabib, because sometimes you may just have certain skill set which may not be able to be neutralized by the opposition, and you may be more dominant than, let's say, more dangerous people are than you are. But Makhachev is just an all-around, the next level type of talent, I think. Maybe he doesn't have the type of control that Khabib has, but he's just way more dangerous on the feet and on the ground as well. You leave out anything and he's kind of taken. He also has this like very opportunistic jiu-jitsu-ish style. Okay, he mixes jiu-jitsu really well with his wrestling and the throws and trips. And we saw that at the end of the fight, how he capitalized on a front headlock position, which is actually very well utilized in jiu-jitsu lately as well. It's a very dangerous position when the chokes are allowed. In wrestling, it's good maybe for a certain level of control, to go around the back. But in Jiu-Jitsu, it's a deadly position all around. Front headlock has its own place in its own right. And we saw how dangerous Islam was. I felt it when he locked those hands, not even before the darts. I felt it that, man, this may be over. And before Poirier got to that position, I think he had a good opportunity to kick out and get away like he did in one of those previous moments in earlier rounds. But it may have been fatigue, it may have been the injury, which he, I think, clearly had, looking at one of his knees, which prevented him from actually going for it, because all he had to do is turn away from Makhachev and then just kick out. And that would have allowed him to escape the takedown almost certainly. But then he turned back into Makhachev, and the Makhachev was able to use the low single and dump him on his behind, and then he kind of turtled forward, and Makhachev was able to capitalize on the front headlock and go for the darts choke in this case. First he attempted the guillotine. Don't be silly, jump the gilly. But then, yeah, he couldn't go for the guillotine, so he went for the kind of modified darts, where he didn't go for the biceps control, but he grabbed his forearm, which gave him more space to drive down with his chest and squeeze, and it was an awful position, as you saw. Yeah, I think in this case Dustin Poirier definitely didn't have any choice but to tap. And this leads me into the subject why Makhachev is very hard to beat, even though you may argue that he looked beatable in this fight. I think only way to beat Makhachev is with some type of finish, okay? Whether it's a submission, which is less likely given how great of a grappler he is, or by a knockout, which is probably more likely given that he has been knocked out before and he has been hit as well. But it's very hard, even for superior strikers than him, to get anything off on him. We know in general that fighting wrestlers, even in the stand-up, is hard, because you always think about the takedowns. But the guy like him, who is so dangerous with his wrestling, with his throws, with his jiu-jitsu on the ground, it's just very hard, because if, let's say, you get taken down, that may be over. You may get finished right away. And the way he takes the bait, the way he passes the guard, the way he jumps on submissions is just very high level, extremely high level. And on the feet, he has more than enough skills to stand with pretty much anybody, even if he's an inferior striker. To be honest with you, I think he's on the level of pretty much anyone. He has a very high level striking. But even if you find somebody with a better striking and pretty good takedown defense, they will be thinking about takedowns all the time, which will disrupt their rhythm. And he has a very awkward movement, which Dustin Poirier talked about as well, that he couldn't get his timing down. I think it's very hard to fight a guy like him, because once you get into his rhythm, he can always disrupt it by a clinch, by an attempted takedown, by his own strikes in between the shots or attempts to take you down. This guy is just going to be a very hard puzzle to solve, but we saw that he's not unbeatable. Okay, if you fight somebody with the level of wrestling, which can be right up there, I think he can be beaten. Okay, now it's second fight. We saw him being humanized. One was the first fight against Volkanovski, and second, obviously, this fight against Dustin Poirier, which is the first lightweight defense. First defense against the lightweight in the lightweight division. Yeah, we saw him have quite a bit of trouble as well. I think this fight would have been a different fight if Makhachev couldn't have kept the pace up for 5 rounds and the wrestling up. I think all around Poirier was mostly one step behind always, and this is also another reason why Makhachev will be hard to beat, because when you're fighting him, it's very hard to get ahead, okay, to find that moment where I'm starting to win here, because he always disrupts this rhythm and disrupts this momentum. So you would have to seriously hurt him and then probably finish him to get anywhere with him. So he needs big challenges. Right now, probably another challenge would have been Justin Gaethje. But again, we know how badly he was pretty much destroyed by Max Holloway, which was quite unexpected for a lot of people. So obviously he's quite a while out of the picture, if he ever gets back to the title picture again. And we got Max Holloway probably fighting again Ilia Topuria, weight class below, which kind of makes sense because Ilia doesn't have many challenges, but also in some ways doesn't make sense to go up, have such a stellar performance in a certain weight class above, also build muscle and like get there correctly, and then move down again where you had several title shots and didn't get the job done. And now Makhachev was probably Makhachev's opportunities and options were probably also hurt by those actions as well. But he has Arman Tsarukyan also coming up. Again, I hope to see that fight in the near future as well. But I just don't see right now Arman Tsarukyan beating Islam Makhachev as well, because all around just Islam is just more well-rounded grappler to leave everything else. Okay, let's forget the striking for a moment. I think he has the upper hand in striking as well. Obviously anything can happen when the fists are flying, but I think technically Makhachev is just but considerably better striker than Arman. Just on a pure striking standpoint, I think he may even have edge in pure wrestling all around, okay, because he's more versatile wrestler with the throws and chain wrestling rather than Arman's pure freestyle type of wrestling style. And as a grappler, as a submission fighter, as a jiu-jitsu guy, I think he's just all around ground game is, I would say, a couple of levels above, or at least a level above Tsarukyan's. So again, after Arman, I think I'd like to see him fight Arman, because Arman deserves the title shot and deserves the rematch against him. So it's a perfect situation that he should get a rematch for the title this time around, and he wants the full camp, and he should get that opportunity, because styles do make fights, and let's see what Arman can maybe deliver this time around. But after, if he gets through Arman, then most likely, unless somebody emerges from the ranks that we are missing right now, he probably has to move up, or somebody else has to move up from the featherweight division to fight him, okay? I think the winner of Topuria versus Max Holloway is also a very interesting fight. If especially Topuria gets through Max Holloway and does it in impressive fashion, I think he makes a very big statement and good case to deserve the fight against Islam. Not because I'd like to necessarily see that, because I have mentioned that I'd like to see champions defend the title a few times, but yeah, I'm just throwing out there as an option. And also probably Islam will push very much so to move up and fight the welterweight champion, whether it's Edwards or somebody else, especially Edwards, because he feels like he can beat him, because they sparred a long time ago in AKA. I guess it went Islam's way, and he sees him as a striker still, even though his wrestling and the overall grappling has improved immensely as well. But yeah, he wants that fight, and I think it may happen. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's a big motivation to keep making the videos. I'm trying to put as good of an input as possible, and I believe I do have something to offer to the community. So please support the channel, and see you next time.